5 Most Brutal Deaths in History, Unveiling the Dark Chapters of Human Cruelty. Today, we embark on a chilling journey through the annals of history, delving into the darkest and most brutal aspects of the human experience. Brace yourselves as we uncover tales of unimaginable pain, suffering, and the depths of human cruelty. The victims of these brutal deaths were kings and queens, rebels and outcasts, ordinary individuals caught in extraordinary circumstances. Their stories, though marred by darkness, are a testament to the resilience and tenacity of the human spirit. So join us as we peel back the layers of time, uncovering the most brutal deaths ever inflicted upon humanity. Be prepared for a journey that will challenge your emotions and ignite your curiosity. Remember to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any part of this chilling series. Flaying. In the year 260 AD, Emperor Valerian, the once mighty ruler of the Roman Empire, fell into the clutches of his enemy, King Shapur of the Sassanid Persian Empire. Little did Valerian know that the horrors he would endure would become etched in the annals of time. Imprisoned and stripped of his power, Emperor Valerian became a helpless pawn in King Shapur's sadistic game. The torment he endured surpassed any bounds of humanity, as his captor sought to break him in the cruelest of ways. Emperor Valerian was subjected to an unimaginable fate known as flaying, an act so heinous it defies comprehension. Flaying, the method chosen to extinguish Valerian's life, involved the systematic removal of his skin, inch by inch. This excruciating process pushed the boundaries of human endurance, as the torturers methodically peeled away the protective layer that shielded his very being. With each strip of skin mercilessly torn from his body, Valerian would have writhed in unbearable pain. The tormentors showed no mercy, ensuring that his suffering was prolonged, amplifying the horror of his final moments. Impalement. Vlad's reign in the 15th century was marked by extreme cruelty, and his preferred method of execution was as brutal as it gets. He devised a horrible spectacle that sent shockwaves through the land and earned him his chilling moniker. Vlad's method, named impalement, involved a long, sharpened stake driven through the victim's body. This excruciating form of execution was not only a means of dispatching the condemned, but also served as a gruesome deterrent to anyone who dared challenge his authority. The process was as horrifying as it sounds. The condemned person would be forcibly positioned atop a sharpened stake, while their own body weight ensured a slow descent into darkness. The stake would penetrate their lower torso and exit through the body, leading to a torturous demise. As the victim hung suspended in agony, every breath became a struggle, every movement a symphony of pain. Days could pass before death finally claimed them, leaving them to rot as a morbid warning to all who dared defy Vlad's authority. Crucifixion. Travel back with me to the ancient world, where the method of crucifixion stood as a horrifying testament to the power of fear and control. It was a form of execution reserved for the most despised and reviled individuals, designed to inflict the utmost suffering. Crucifixion was a brutal process that began with the condemned being stripped of their clothing, leaving them exposed and vulnerable to the elements and the prying eyes of onlookers. The victim was then forced to carry the heavy wooden cross, a symbol of their impending doom, through the streets, under the scornful gaze of the populace. This act of public humiliation served to further dehumanize them. Upon reaching the designated execution site, the victim's hands and feet were nailed or bound to the wooden cross. The pain of the nails piercing through the flesh and bones was excruciating, ensuring their agony would last until the very end. The crucified individual was then raised upright, the cross serving as their torturous scaffold. Gravity worked against them, intensifying their suffering as their own body weight bore down on the nailed or bound extremities. Days would pass as the condemned hung in anguish, enduring unrelenting pain, thirst, and exposure to the elements. The scorching sun beat down upon them during the day, while the cold chill of night brought no respite. Every breath became a struggle, as the victim's body weight pressed against their diaphragm, making it increasingly difficult to fill their lungs. As the hours turned into days, their strength decreased, and their suffering intensified. Death by crucifixion was a slow and agonizing process. Some victims succumbed to exhaustion, dehydration, or shock. Others endured the torment for days until their bodies finally gave in to the overwhelming trauma. The crucified bodies were often left hanging as a gruesome spectacle, a warning to all who dared challenge the authority of those in power. Drawing and quartering, a method of execution employed in various cultures throughout history, reached its peak of brutality in medieval Europe. It was a fate reserved for traitors and rebels, designed to inflict the utmost agony and serve as a gruesome check. The torment began with the condemned being dragged through the streets, tied to the back of a horse or carriage, a spectacle designed to humiliate and break their spirit before their ultimate demise. Once at the execution site, the real horror commenced. The victim was tied to a large wooden frame, arms and legs outstretched, immobilized and completely at the mercy of their tormentors. Then came the drawing, a process that involved the removal of the victim's internal organs while still alive. The executioner, armed with a sharp knife or dagger, would begin the agonizing task of slicing open the abdomen, exposing the organs to the air. As the victim writhed in unbearable pain, their entrails were slowly pulled out, sometimes with additional methods such as hot pokers or hooks. The excruciating torment was intended to be a form of prolonged suffering, a punishment fit for the gravest of crimes. But the horror did not end there. After being drawn, the victim faced the gruesome fate of quartering. Their body was divided into 4 parts, usually by tying ropes to their limbs and then pulling in opposite directions with great force. The sheer brutality of quartering resulted in the tearing apart of the victim's body, limbs being separated from the torso in a violent and merciless manner. Blood Eagle. In the land of the Vikings, a time of fierce warriors and savage conquests, the blood eagle stood as a punishment reserved for the most heinous of crimes. It was a fate that would etch itself into the annals of history, a testament to the brutality of those times. The blood eagle was a form of execution that involved the ritualistic carving of a person's back, ultimately resulting in their lungs being pulled out and displayed. This act would commence with the condemned individual being restrained, their arms and legs firmly held in place. They would become a living canvas, upon which the executioner would carve a terrifying masterpiece of pain and suffering. With a wickedly sharp blade, the executioner would begin by making deep incisions along the victim's back, exposing the ribcage. The cuts would be meticulously made, forming a pattern resembling the outstretched wings of an eagle. But the torment did not end with the initial incisions. The executioner would then proceed to methodically crack and break the victim's ribs, separating the bone from the flesh to create an eerie resemblance of wings. As the victim's chest cavity was exposed, the final act of horror awaited. The executioner, with hands drenched in blood, would reach inside the living body, pulling out the lungs, still pulsating with life. The sight of the victim's lungs, torn from their chest, would serve as a gruesome display of power and dominance. It was a message to all who witnessed the ghastly scene, a warning of the consequences of crossing the mighty Vikings. The blood eagle was more than just a method of execution. It was a ritual of terror, a macabre dance between life and death. The memory of this brutal practice has endured through the ages, haunting our imaginations with its horrific legacy. Remember that history's horrors should not be celebrated but understood. By shining a light on these gruesome events, we honor the victims, their stories forever etched in our collective consciousness. Thank you for joining us on this chilling expedition into the most brutal deaths inflicted upon humans. Remember to take a moment of reflection and gratitude for the peace and progress we have achieved. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and stay vigilant against the darkness that history can so starkly reveal.